I'm Dan.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan. Some of you guys know me as this.
Hi, Dan.
This is my consultancy, where I do this. This is another name for this, which is part of this, which is basically this. But hacking carries a negative connotation, so really what I do is this.
Right.
So, anybody go to DEF CON last year or the year before? Remember Johnny Long, this guy?
The guy whose style you're emulating?
I completely ripped this guy's style of presentation off. He said I could. I asked. So, you can hack a person just like you can hack a computer. You can actually buffer overflow people. It's pretty cool. This is sort of the idea I'm going for. You guys are a bunch of 1 gig USB sticks. It's awesome.
Why? That's small-minded.
It gets better. Stay with me. So in my last people hacking talk, I said some things about social engineering and tricks on how to get free stuff. But it's not necessarily the cream of the crop when it comes to social engineering, but you know, it gets you a foot in the door. So this is only the beginning. Attackers that are capable of hacking your people as well as your computer systems can circumvent nearly any piece of software or hardware you have in place to secure anything. Any system, it doesn't matter how buff your infrastructure is. If people can hack your people, then the people will get the information they want with their credentials. So, for the sake of the talk, since this was supposed to be an hour talk and I had to cram it down, there's some required reading, but if you guys want to follow along, there's some Wikipedia articles that are pertinent. So I'll give you guys, if you feel like it, I'll give you guys a moment to crack open tabs. But just glancing at it will help. Sorry, I really wish they would shorten that one. Alright. So the first thing I'm going to cover is proxemics. Proxemics is the idea of social interaction based on basically a position of your shoulders in reference to people around you. So you have social interaction based on personal distance, and you have different designations of it. So if anybody's ever been to any of the other meetups in town, or anybody, I mean, we've seen this all our lives, little pods of people all communicating, right? And they're arranged differently. So based on the arrangement of people standing in groups communicating, we have relationships that we can point out based on the angles of people's shoulders. So there's pretty much 4 to remember. So 0 is face to face, 45 degrees, 90 either side, 135 is 45 degrees but the other direction, and then back to back, right? So here's the quick and easy chart. So our little guy here is facing down. So if you take that in for a moment, you know, where have you ever been in a social situation where there's somebody who's standing next to you and maybe you don't feel like talking to them, so you kind of do this? That's that. They have words for this. It was like, holy crap. So, for all you Unix people, proxemics is basically identical. Right? So, here's the test.
Wait, what are executable permissions on a person?
Where can I approach one of these crowds?
No one on the right.
Here looks good. You know, these guys are facing me, right? That's cool. What about her over there on the end? Maybe these guys? But you know, based on an observation of like once you start realizing this stuff, it's sort of like the way I can describe it best is if you ever anybody here recently bought a car in the last like 6 months? A car, anybody, or switched cars? Okay. So before you bought this car, did you ever see it driving around? You probably never saw it anywhere. Like I got a new car about a year ago, and I never really see these cars around at all. But once you buy the car and you're in the car, they're everywhere, right? It's the same concept. There's no learning curve to it, but once you realize this sort of stuff, you can't turn it off. It's just there, and you're like, what the hell? So, here's another example. You know, work, I can probably walk up there.
From the San Diego Suite.
Well, these where I used to go and take lots of pictures of crowds.
Okay.
Yeah, people standing around talking. I figured it'd probably be best that, you know, since I'm going to give away my slides and my some Excel spreadsheets at the end, it'd probably be best that I use stuff that's like properly licensed. So if they're my pictures, then we're good. Here's another one.
Again?
Yeah.
we get prizes for being nice to each other?
Damn it, I knew I forgot something. I was going to have scotch up here. Fucking hell.
I suppose that was probably makes it easier to hack people.
Alright. Here's another one. It's probably not so good, but...
Again!
That's right! But yeah, so you can you can see these pictures later if you want, but you can start pointing it out, like some people in the back may not, people with glasses. You can decide who to approach literally based on the configuration of their shoulders. Like I can walk up here, right? Because they're sort of kinked outwards, right? So there's the two terms to define this are sociopetal and sociofugal. Sociopetal is promoting social interaction, and sociofugal is promoting privacy. So if you see people, allowing themselves to be approached socially by their body gestures, you can walk up and start talking to them. It's kind of neat. Of course, that goes two ways. If they don't know you're there, then they may not just be ignoring you, right? They may not like actively be, no, fuck that guy. No. If they know you're there and they're doing it, that's another story. So it's a sort of a cognition thing too, or not really cognition, perception. If they know you're there and they're doing it, then yeah, they're sending you a signal, go away. If they don't know you're there, then walk by them, see if you can get on their radar and see what happens. So next bit, cold reading. So cold reading is pretty interesting stuff. You guys have probably heard about it. Who's that guy? That dude that did like the Talking to the Dead show, right?
Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, John Edwards, that guy.
John Edwards.
Right, that's called cold reading. So what these guys do is they get a crowd of people, and they're talking about, yeah, the name starts with a J, it's Jolene, Josephine, right? And people start going, oh, I have a great aunt that just died, right? And they start reading body mannerisms and gestures, and they literally play off gestural responses from the crowd to tell people exactly what they want to hear, and people from the crowd flip out. Also, those guys have been known to bug the room to get people talking to each other about their relatives. So they're pointing out, yeah, the one in the yellow skirt over there is talking about a dead aunt or a dead aunt named June or something. So it's interesting stuff. But they use basic visual, what they can get at glancing at you. They effectively use it against you to try to get a baseline for generalizations that they can make about you. So Kinesics is sort of the same idea. Anybody here watch Lie to Me? Lie to Me, good show, cool.
Yeah.
Lie to Me is Kinesics. Lie to Me is, or not Lie to Me, so Kinesics is the idea of looking at body mannerisms, gestures, to define what somebody is actually thinking or feeling, because a lot of times people will say one thing and do another, literally, with their bodies. And with Kinesics, it's exactly what you see in Lie to Me, where you have Cal Lightman or Tim Roth's character flat out point out, oh, you're lying. Oh, no, okay, now you're not lying. Same sort of thing. I mean, this is actual real stuff. If you want, crack open PaulEkman.com, it's PaulEkman.com, and there's a little video in the top right-hand corner where he does exactly the same stuff that they do in the show, because that guy okays every script. So, with Kinesics, there's some other stuff that's kind of neat in terms of gestures. So, emblems are, for example, if you see somebody talking and they kind of kink their hand up like this, for example, stop. You have other things where the whole gestural middle finger, I'm scratching my nose, it's a hostility gesture. You have all these different things that once you read about it, I see that stuff all the time. Regulators, things to control the flow and pace of speech. So it's pretty interesting stuff. It's stuff that you can apply to anything. I mean, nobody's on guard all the time. So you just watch a crowd, watch people talk. It's awesome stuff. So some of you guys may have remembered me talking about a spreadsheet that I was working on for the last few months. I had studied a lot of, actually the show, Lie to Me, and a lot of stuff I did reading on Wikipedia and a lot of journals, and there was some psychiatric stuff that I found in terms of papers. But I basically took everything that I learned and I shoved it in an Excel spreadsheet. And it's really, really simple in terms of, I try to make it easy to read, so it's kind of like a cheat sheet, which I have this in Excel for you guys later if you want it. So, put that together, we got Chmod A+R. So now we have global read on people, right? So, to put this into perspective.